This week, the sun within us, consciousness life, activates the 31st I Ching. The transformational path of this frequency moves us from the shadow of arrogance to the highest vibration of humility, and it's through the path of leadership. The 31st shadow is all about seeking recognition. That's it in a nutshell. And why do we seek recognition? It seems like a very human need. Nowadays, we can see how this shadow has gained momentum more than ever through social media. Because the more unsure we are of ourselves, the more we look for validation on the outside. So now we have a generation of uneasy, insecure people desperate to be recognized, and most don't even know what for. It's rare to find a young person these days that doesn't want to be rich or famous. The unspoken question at the root of modern culture is, how can I feel secure? And yet, it's the wrong question. It's a question that only leads to sickness. Because it's the wrong question. The right question is, how can I best serve the whole? And yet, that is the question that modern culture doesn't ask yet, at least not on a collective level. So we can see the root to the shadow of arrogance is insecurity, individual insecurity. You know, there are many layers in every shadow. So there's the traditional notion of arrogance, the egotistical kind, the macho, look at me, I know best, the bullies. And the bullies are the most insecure ones. That is the arrogant behavior that we're all familiar with. But there are also subtle layers to this shadow, because there's also spiritual arrogance. And spiritual arrogance is rooted in a deep belief system that we found the way, that our path is the best path, and those who don't know are in the shadows, kind of like a superiority complex. And we see this in all the great religions and in the New Age. We see it wherever there's a loss of touch with our central humanity. Because to be human is to be imperfect, and a lot of the time it's to be wrong. To be human is to fall, to reach highs, but then to plummet. And arrogance then is a kind of blindness that we all have, and we have it until life exposes it. Arrogance is especially tied to leadership. That's the gift vibration of this 31st I Ching. So if you have this 31st I Ching in your energetic design, especially in a prominent location, you have some kind of potential as a leader to influence a culture. But you also carry the seed of arrogance, because that's the shadow here. And to be arrogant is to act without realizing that there are consequences. You know, there are laws built into life. These are the laws of karma. And once we have acted or spoken, our action stands for eternity. Yes, this is heavy. And that's why this I Ching is part of the codon ring called the Ring of No Return. Because every action carries karma, and arrogance always ends with some form of humiliation. No one gets away. And that's why the dilemma here is choice. Because when you act as though you're in charge, in control of your destiny, you will always get disappointed. There are forces beyond our lives, beyond us, beyond our control, that set the rules, that choreograph the tapestry of life. The Indians call this Dharma, the unique flow and pattern of our individual destiny. And our Dharma unravels as we live. It brings us great fortune, but it also brings us challenges. And the only choice we have then is how we respond to our Dharma. When we act without integrity, out of insecurity, because we're trying to control life, then we're acting arrogantly. And some of you may say, that makes us seem so powerless. Our destiny must be in our hands. Well, it is and it isn't. Our karma is in our hands. Our karmic patterns are in our hands. Our karma is how we respond to our dharma. And if we respond with cruel words, with complaining or blaming or becoming a victim, we then create that very thing we put out. Whereas if we respond with acceptance, with love, with humility, then we create that energy in our environment. So the question is, who is choosing? In life, are you the chooser? Do you make life happen? Spiritually, this is a very subtle point. We all hear all the time, you create your own reality. But it's not totally true. We all say it because it's the first stage in stepping out of victimhood. But it isn't the whole way. It's actually a pretty arrogant thing to say. We do have a say in the script, but we don't have a say in the storyline. That's why the dilemma here is choice. Because we have to learn to let go over and over again. And the thing that life wants us to let go of is us, the me, the I, the individual identity. Arrogance is about the me. It's about caring what others think, or trying to please, or trying to provoke. It's about attention. Me, me, me. There is a deep moral aspect to this 31st I Ching, which is really beautiful. It creates all kinds of leaders, from the shadow all the way to the city. And the further away a leader appears from being human, from being imperfect, the closer they usually are to the shadow. And this is how arrogance manifests, as people behave as though they're beyond approach, as superior, who are not able to see through their own behavior honestly. You know, arrogance cannot see itself without a breakthrough. It's blind. That is its core nature. The programming partner here is the 41st shadow of fantasy. Arrogance lives in a world cut off from the human heart. And we see this very clearly with certain spiritual people. This is what's known as the spiritual mistake. Even though there's no actual mistake, everything is divine, all is needed. It's a journey, but it's known as spiritual bypassing. Being fixated on the higher dimensions, the cities, and we forget to bring them down to form, into the mess of humanity, into humanity. And that is the greatest challenge. That's the inner work. And that's what makes a great leader. A true leader is not someone who's beyond us in a world of bliss and radiance. How could such a person be a role model? They can point us to our eventual potential, but they can't help us practically, not if we can't relate to them. So in a way, such people have moved beyond leading. So the spiritual mistake is to opt out by going for those higher frequencies and not integrating them in the world. That makes one spiritually arrogant. So maintain your connection to the human, to the earth, to the mundane. So let's contemplate this dilemma of choice. So we begin by feeling like we have no choice and that we're a victim to our suffering. And then one day we decide we do have a choice and we break out of that victimhood and we create a new life, an empowered life. And then we come full circle to the realization that we have no individual choice and that the whole is choosing through us. And our only option is to surrender and keep opening up to the unknown. So we can't skip the middle step. We can't go to the city straight from the shadow. We're suffering, so we escape to the higher realms, the higher dimensions. It's just an escape. It's spiritual arrogance. This is Shadow Gift City. We only get to the city by beginning with the shadow and working deeply into it. So find the place where you're arrogant, find your blind spot, and listen to life. It will tell you where it is, because it will arrange a humbling for you. The 31st gift, the way to alchemize the shadow and raise the vibration, leadership. So what makes the true leader? Let's contemplate that. Well, humanity, vulnerability, but vulnerability as strength with awareness. What other qualities are essential to a true leader? I would say patience, forgiveness, courage. We need to be patient and forgiving with ourselves to move through our own arrogance and discover the true meaning of humility. So it takes patience, forgiveness, and courage, the qualities of leadership. But these qualities are not external to do something impressive. These qualities are for inner leadership, to stay absolutely centered in your own truth, in the truth of your heart, even when others don't understand and project all kinds of things onto you. It's about standing firm in your own self-love and the love of the whole. Listen, it's virtually impossible to see your own arrogance. You can't see it in yourself. You can see the arrogance in someone else as a mirror. Otherwise, the only way you will see your own arrogance is by making a so-called mistake, and life humbles you. So you have to fall. That is what the 31st I Ching is all about. It's about learning humility, learning to fall with grace. That is what makes a good leader, at least in my eyes. I'm not impressed by the perfect saint. I'm more impressed by the fallen saint, one who picks himself up after he or she has fallen and still keeps his heart open. Those are the true leaders, those that can fall and lift themselves up again with even deeper self-love. That takes a special kind of strength. It's the path of a true human being. A great poem by Roger Kipling, 1895. If you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you. If you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowance for their doubting too. If you can wait and not be tired of waiting, or being lied about, don't deal in lies, or being hated, don't give way to hating, and yet don't look too good nor talk too wise. If you can dream and not make dreams your master, if you can think and not make thought your aim, if you can meet triumph and disaster and treat those two impostors just the same, if you can bear to hear the truth you've spoken, twisted to make a trap for fools, or watch the things you gave your life to broken, and build them up with worn-out tools, and it goes on and ends with, if you can do all that, the world is yours. And that's what I'm talking about here with leadership. True leadership requires that we stick our head out and face the things others throw at us. We trust in our own inherent virtue. That is the 31st gift. And the greater the challenge life throws at us, the greater our potential for transmutation. You have to remember that the programming partner of the 31st I Ching is the 41st I Ching, and the 41st I Ching is unique. It's where all great new breakthroughs come out of the void into the physical world of form. So these two I Chings together are all about bringing the new into the world. And the new always meets resistance. It isn't always recognized in its own time. So if you have this 31st I Ching in a prominent place in your energetic design, you must face these things in life. Leadership sounds very impressive, but it comes with great responsibility. And nowadays, there are all these people telling us we're all leaders. All these leadership courses and trainings. It's a big buzz. Everybody wants to be a leader. But the truth is, true leaders are rare. This is not everyone's calling. True leaders, at least energetically, they're made by life. It isn't something you decide. It's something that's thrown at you. It's your dharma. It's your destiny. It's what was written into the storyline before you became an adult. To be a spokesperson of the new, you will have to learn the language of the old, and you can't throw the old away. Many new thought leaders have tried that, and it never works. Those are revolutionaries. Leadership has great respect for the past, for tradition, for the ancient ways, but it also brings a new perspective with it. Leadership creates the new onto the ancient rootstocks, and this is wisdom in action. To use the lessons of everyday life as the means to resolve the deeper questions that haunt us. Why things happen in certain ways. Why fate sometimes gives us challenges out of the blue. And the true leaders, they've lived these trials, these challenges. They continue to live them, learn and grow from them. Yes, the true leaders are the most human among us. They aren't unreachable. They are here on the ground among us. That is real leadership. The 31st city, the highest vibration, humility. Do you think you know what true humility is? It isn't what you think. It's not about hiding the ego. It's about egolessness. And what does it mean to transcend the ego? Is it something only great masters and saints can do? Not at all. It's something life leads us to when we surrender deeply enough. Life will strip you down to the bone when you follow your destiny without question, when you submit, surrender to your dharma. The city is not about self-empowerment. The city is all about surrender. And surrender isn't just about bowing before an altar. Surrender is hardcore. It's about letting go of all definitions of self. So at the gift level, we play the game of self-empowerment. We become righteous. We try to live with integrity. But the city demands an extra leap. It demands we even drop our sense of external goodness. It demands we step out of the game of good and evil. It may even ask us to play the very role we feared the most. Think about Judas. History branded Judas the betrayer. He betrayed Jesus for money. That is a heavy burden, to be the one who betrayed the Son of God. But imagine if Judas was utterly aware. Imagine if he knew that that was his role. Maybe he loved and trusted in Jesus so much that he gave himself up to that role. Maybe his trust in God was greater than Jesus. The point is, we don't know. But if that was the case, then Judas would have been the most humblest man to have ever lived. To play such a role and to be remembered as the worst betrayer, that's humility. To let others think what they will, but to know your heart above all else. So life brings us to these golden opportunities to surrender our attachments, our goals, our views, the very construct of our identity. And the beauty is, life brings us to this if we are listening, only if we're listening. Most people aren't willing to surrender to that level of external drama. Humility trusts in every situation that occurs. They trust in it so entirely that the action, their letting go, their surrender emerges correctly. And others may not like you. They may not agree with you. They won't understand you. Who understands deep surrender? Only another transcended spirit. Life is about letting go, a spiritual life even more so. To live life right out of the fire of your heart, you will be humbled over and over again. And this is the beauty of a life lived at that level of consciousness. You enter another dimension. You learn to bow to life, not out of resignation, but from a deep trust, the trust in life, the divine within. I empower you this week to create space, get to higher awareness, notice your thoughts, feel all the sensations fully that come up in the body. Shine the light of awareness to your ability to lead. Are you empowered, empowering? Are you disempowered, disempowering? Breathe in, breathe out. Remember, love yourself and choose to be blessed.